What are the 3 most unrealistic expectations about postdoctoral fellowships? Stick around and let's talk about it today on this episode of Navigating Academia. What's up, Navigating Academia family? This is your buddy and personal academic mentor, Dr. J. Phoenix Singh, coming at you to be able to talk about the 3 most unrealistic expectations that honestly are pretty common when it comes to doing postdoctoral fellowships. It's funny because I can tell you guys that as an undergraduate, I obviously knew all about master's programs, doctoral programs, and then I knew about tenure track positions. Maybe I even knew a little bit about being, let's say, an adjunct professor. But the term postdoctoral fellowship, this really wasn't something that I had a lot of exposure to until I was actually doing my doctorate. So you guys know me, I've got 2 doctorates. First one's from Oxford. So during my Oxford days, this is when I first learned about postdoctoral fellowships. And it seemed like a wonderful opportunity to be able to spend a couple of years decompressing from the PhD, but more importantly, I had all of these different publications in my mind using my doctoral data sets that I wanted to put out there. And by the end of my doctorate, I just didn't have enough time to be able to write up all the manuscripts and submit them. So to be able to do those things and to be able to apply for a few early career development grants from, institutions here in the United States like NSF or like NIMH, this was something that I knew was going to take some time. And because of that, I knew I'd have a better chance of getting one of my dream tenure track positions if I simply did a postdoc. And that's exactly what I did. And I can tell you guys right now that doing a postdoc for me was totally life-changing. It, no doubt, academically for me was easily, I would say, probably one of the top 3 decisions I ever made. It is that big of a deal. And I really recommend doing them. The thing is that obviously, postdocs are honestly pretty rare to come by, especially depending on what your field is. Like my field is forensic psychology. And as you can imagine, there's not exactly 1,000 postdoctoral fellowships, let alone in one country like the United States, on a topic like that. So it's important to be able to find out not just where these postdoctoral fellowships are, but whether or not there's a target supervisor at one of them who is going to be a really good fit for you and is a thought leader in the field who can help you make the necessary connections and really kind of get in with the right groups, because so much of getting tenure track positions is just strategy and politicking. I know that seems really annoying. So many of us, maybe we're a little bit introverted, or maybe it's something where we don't like the concept of kind of playing games. I can tell you that I personally don't like that either in terms of having to play the game in academia, but it's one of those unfortunate realities. So it's certainly the case that having the right mentor who recognizes that you are not a grad student anymore, but you're actually more of a colleague who can kind of help you navigate this process. That's really what you need. And that leads us to our first unrealistic expectation that I find that prospective postdocs have, is that they just say, this is just a continuation of grad school. In grad school, I had my grad school supervisor. I was a soldier. They were the general. They were telling me what to do. I followed the steps, and here we go. Now I'm Dr. Such and Such. Very exciting. And it is exciting, trust me on this one. And I'm sure you did a great job because you got the doctorate of actually following those orders, but now you're a postdoc. Like I said, now you are much more of a junior colleague to whoever your postdoc supervisor is, as opposed to somebody who's kind of just supposed to be, let's say, following orders and so forth. Your level of independence is now extremely, extremely close to that of a tenure track faculty member. And this is almost your proving grounds. Think about it like, before people usually enter as drivers in Formula 1 racing, oftentimes they're go-kart racers. You're like, go-karts? What are you talking about? Go-karts are so different than, these amazing Formula 1 race cars. But at the same time, you're kind of proving what you've got. You're proving that you've got the right skill sets to be able to dominate and be an asset to a department as a tenure track faculty member. This is your moment to be able to do that. And the more hand-holding that you require, the less you are demonstrating that you can independently run your own lab, supervise students of your own, and so forth. So it's very important that you begin the process of kind of cutting the cord, okay, from your postdoc supervisor. And they should be facilitating that. They should be helping you with that. But just don't be frustrated when you find that you're getting a lot less supervision than you were when you were a graduate student usually, all right? So that's unrealistic expectation number 1. Unrealistic expectation number 2 is that you're going to have structured supervision and a structured training experience during those years. I was very blessed during my time at my postdoc to have just an absolutely amazing postdoctoral fellowship mentor named Paul Stiles. And Paul was just absolutely incredible, just the nicest person, and he really, really cared about mentoring. He did provide a little bit of structure for myself and my fellow postdocs who are within one particular college at the University of South Florida. But it was also the case where he really believed that this fellowship should be tailored to each and every one of us. All of us had our own individual milestones. We all had our own individual things that we were hoping to accomplish by the end of the postdoctoral fellowship. Some of us stayed for 1 year, some of us stayed for up to 3 years. It was definitely something where it differed at the level of the individual, but that's exactly what a postdoc is supposed to be. Now, it is something where if you know what you need, for example, you function best if every week you can have a 30-minute touch point with whoever your supervisor is, or whoever your mentor is, or once a month you would love to be able to, sit down and have a really in-depth multi-hour conversation, take them to lunch, bring your laptop, go through things, or anything like that. If you thrive with that kind of structure, you can certainly chat with them about it, but they are very unlikely to imprint or to force upon you any kind of structure themselves. So don't expect that. This isn't like grad school where, for example, a lot of you work with me to be able to get into leading PsyD programs. And for PsyD programs, I can tell you year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, kind of exactly what you should expect, almost semester by semester. Postdocs, it's something completely different. It's very what we call idiographic, which again is the level of the individual, okay? So that is unrealistic expectation number 2. Finally, unrealistic expectation number 3 is that a postdoc is just a low-paying assistant professor job. Now, it is true that when you're a postdoc, you will be paid really quite a bit less than an assistant professor job. When I think back now at what the going rate was for an assistant professor at an R1 university, Research 1 university. So these are kind of like the universities that usually, if you were to hear their names, you'd be like, oh yeah, of course. Like in the States, if it was like a state school, like University of Virginia or University of Michigan, it's like, okay, those are R1 universities usually. And so what happens is if you want to go to one of those programs and you want to become a tenured track psychology professor, and then I think about what I was getting paid, it was almost 50%, right? But I thought that I was rich, right? When I was a doctorate compared to my doctoral stipend, oh my gosh, I was rolling in it. I just thought that I was, the richest dude out there. But it's one of these things where being a postdoc is a very, very unique position to be in. Yes, you're getting paid less, but there's also fewer expectations on you, particularly when it comes to service, leadership, mentorship, and also teaching. Does that mean you should be mentoring no one and doing no service within your department or within the field? Does that mean that you should be teaching no courses? Of course not, but the expectations are not usually there. They're not going to tell you, okay, Jay, you need to go ahead and teach a 3-3 course load across 2 different semesters. We're going to assign you or allow you to choose several grad students that you're going to be supervising and mentoring, so on and so forth. We're going to expect you to serve on one departmental committee. We want to make sure that you're out there in at least one leadership position, like we're expecting you to be able to run for an executive board position at, one of these 3 leading field associations. There's really nothing like that. You really get to kind of make the rules much more. And although that's exciting, sometimes it can be a bit intimidating because if nobody's giving you that blueprint, you need to make it for yourself. That increased level of responsibility I find is actually really, really healthy. Think about it like blowing up a balloon. Insofar as kind of, strengthening your lungs and really deciding how big do I want this thing, so on and so forth, right? This is the exact same concept here. You can make your postdoc what you want it to be. For me, doing that looked like being the guest editor of a special issue of a journal, publishing, I think, like 8 or 9 different articles a year for both of the years of my postdoc, traveling internationally to be able to give lectures at universities, beginning the process of getting paid to give trainings. There were so many things I did as a postdoc that really changed my career trajectory. These are the sorts of skill sets that if you visit down here at Publication Academy, you're going to be able to learn from me. So I hope that you enjoy this channel and I hope that you do check it out because for one low monthly payment, you're going to get access to all those different training modules. But for today, those are the 3 big unrealistic expectations that so many people had. I think that I had too when it came to pursuing a postdoctoral fellowship. Thank you guys so much for watching though. I appreciate you as always. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, share the video with your friends, colleagues, and students, and don't forget to get out there and be your best self. God bless you. Have a great day. See you in the next one. Thank you so much for stopping by, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more in this series on navigating academia, please click on one of these links over here to be able to view more original content. I hope to see you there.